I'm sorry, Mom, but I wanted you to get away. My son pushed me into the river, and when I came home soaking wet and answered the phone, he apologized to me. As I listened to my son's story told afterward, I knew that he had saved my life. I decided to go into hiding for a while, just as he had planned. While I was in hiding, I began to investigate my husband's background. The results were so shocking. I could not forgive my husband. My name is Selenia, and I am 40 years old. My husband Nicholas, who is 2 years older than me, and our son Kendall, who is in the 5th grade of elementary school. I started working part-time in my neighborhood when Kendall started elementary school. I have been working at the same supermarket for 5 years now, so I have reached the level of a veteran. I have been entrusted with training new employees, and my work is going very well, and I am enjoying it. However, as for my private life, I would say I'm a nigh. My parents-in-law live 10 minutes walk from our house, and my mother-in-law comes to our house every day. There are 2 reasons. One is to see Kendall, my doting grandson, and the other is to bully me. This has been going on non-stop since we got married. I know my mother-in-law is a neat and tidy person, but even so, she would reach up to the top of the refrigerator or the top of the tall wardrobe, which she would not normally clean, and say that they were dusty. Who would clean such places every day? I want to complain every time, but I have no choice but to clean it without saying anything. If he complained even a little, his mother-in-law would say to Kendall something like this: "Kendall, your mother is the kind of person who can't even clean up." She would say, "They say a dirty room is a dirty mind. Your mother has a dirty soul." He would say to Kendall without hesitation, "Which one of us has a dirty mind?" I thought so many times, but I could not say such things out loud, even if it was wrong. I talked to my husband about it many times. I'm wondering if you could stop your mother coming over every day to see us. I have to be honest. It's not easy to take care of your mother-in-law while working part-time. And my husband said, "What are you talking about?" "What do you mean you're taking care of her? She's taking care of you, aren't you?" He said, "My mother is sad. She said she was ashamed that even at your age you still couldn't clean the house. I'm pretty normal with my cleaning. It's just that your mother goes out of her way to find dust. If she goes looking for dust, that means there is dust, right? Doesn't that mean Selenia's cleaning is bad?" I couldn't have said it any better back. Is there such a thing as a house with no dust at all? I thought to myself, but in the end, I spend my days at my mother-in-law's beck and call. And there was one more thing I wanted my mother-in-law to stop doing. That is to take Kendall, who he loves, around the neighborhood. According to Kendall, she goes around telling neighbors that he is her proud grandson. At first, the neighbors listened to her, but now even Kendall can tell that they are fed up with her. My mother-in-law is unaware of this and tells the same story each and every time. I don't care what the neighbors think of my mother-in-law, but I really wish she would do something about taking Kendall around with her. I said, "Mother-in-law, could you please stop taking Kendall around the neighborhood?" She said, "Oh my God, why? What's wrong with you and Kendall going out together? Kendall has homework and lessons. He doesn't have time to go out with her mother every day." That's not true, is it, Kendall? Aren't you glad you get to go out with your grandmother? My mother-in-law knows that if she asks Kendall's opinion directly, Kendall will not be able to say no because of her concern for me. He says, "I'll go out with Grandma if she and Mom will get along." Am I the only one who finds Kendall pitiful when he says such things? We know that this is a ploy of my mother-in-law, but we are taken in by it. I really wish my mother-in-law would do something about her selfish behavior. In addition, Kendall has been doing other things to bring me and my mother-in-law closer together. My mother-in-law complains that I don't clean well enough. He said, "Mom, I know you're tired from work. I'll clean up for you. So don't get so mad at her, Grandma." What a good son he is. My mother-in-law, too, when Kendall says so. "I will forgive you for today. Selenia, you'll have to clean up tomorrow." She can't hold her own and says she will forgive me today. Kendall winks at us when his plan works and looks happy. Then, when my mother-in-law returns, he says, "You were great today, weren't you, Mom?" Or, "I wonder how we can make Grandma's bullying go away." He would say things like, I'm always on my mother's side. In fact, Kendall may know that his mother-in-law's bullying behavior will never stop. But even so, she is thinking about what he can do to help. One day, Kendall's had been depressed since this morning. Today I had a day off from my part-time job, so I invited him to go shopping with me after school. Kendall agreed, but I was trying to figure out why Kendall had been so gloomy all day. Yesterday my mother-in-law came over and snubbed me again, just as she always does. It was really just the usual thing, and I don't think it was anything that made Kendall particularly depressed. Later, as usual, my mother-in-law took Kendall to talk to the neighbors. Perhaps she continued to say something bad about me there. Recently, Kendall told me that in addition to bragging about Kendall, she had also started to speak ill of me. Was that why yesterday was so bad? That was all I could think of. But anyway, I wanted Kendall to cheer up, so I invited her to go shopping. Even while shopping, Kendall seemed somewhat gloomy. What really happened? We were on our way home after shopping together, not knowing what to expect. We always walk along the river on our way home, and it was when we reached a bridge. Suddenly Kendall pushed me toward the river. That's when he said, "I don't want to walk with you, Mommy. I wish you were gone." Those were the words. What the hell is going on? I falled on the water with a splash. The river was surprisingly deep, so I floated in the water without hitting the bottom. From there, I managed to swim towards the riverbank, flailing about. When I managed to reach the riverbank, I hurried home soaking wet, because I could not believe that Kendall would do this without any reason. There is definitely a reason, and it seemed to me that it must be something really serious. When I arrived home, no one was there. Where did Kendall go? I thought he was coming home. Then the landline phone at home rang. I remembered that my bag had sunk to the bottom of the river. I now realized that I had come home without appearance. Hello? When I picked up the phone, the person on the other end did not start speaking. Hello? Who is this? I answered, and finally the person on the other end started to speak. Hello, Mom. It was Kendall. Kendall, what's wrong? Where are you? I desperately talked to Kendall. The voice of the person in question sounded somewhat like crying. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I did that. But I want my mom to run away. I dropped her in the river because what followed was unbelievable, but I couldn't stop crying, thinking that Kendall was desperately trying to come up with a plan to save me. And I knew I had to get away from this house for a while. Kendall said he would go to his grandparents' house. He said that his grandmother, who loved Kendall dearly, would fully believe his story and would try to protect him. Me, on the other hand, changed my soaking wet clothes, took some cash, and decided to go back to my parents' house. Now that I didn't have a cell phone, I had no choice but to go on my own. I thought to myself, I am so glad that I only had my house key in my pants pocket. So when I managed to reach my parents' house, I contacted Kendall's phone from my mother's phone. This is because it will be my means of communication for a while from now on. Kendall told me that he would not tell anyone that he had dropped me in the river. There were no people around at that time, so they decided that no one should have seen me. Besides, there were people right next to me who would have preferred that I was gone. While I was back at my parents' house, I began my investigation. That is, a background check on my husband. According to Kendall, there are many things that are not good around my husband. I continued to live my life as if I were not in this world for about a week before I found out the results. I was surprised to see the results of my husband's background check. It was just the right story to corroborate what Kendall had told me. Knowing all this, I took my findings with me to my home. The house was quiet during the day, but there were some items that did not belong to me, and I was very uncomfortable with. I went through my husband's room and found what I was looking for. I decided to take it and wait for him to return in the living room. I'm home. I heard two voices. That would be my husband and his cheating partner. I'm so glad that Kendall is not here. I didn't have to show him the horror that was about to happen. Welcome back, I replied quietly. Then, it was my husband who sounded surprised. Why, Selenia, I thought Kendall dropped you in the river. Could it be a ghost or something? I was amused by his panic, so I decided to watch him for a while. My flirtatious partner was also surprised. If it were a ghost, it wouldn't have legs, right? But since you don't look scary, does that mean it's not a ghost? Then what the hell is going on? Calm down. If you talk to me, I might understand. Selenia, are you a ghost? I wondered if they were still advocating the ghost theory. I had no choice but to answer their questions. How can I be a ghost? I'm your wife, alive and well. Nice to meet you, my husband's lover. The woman with whom I had an affair is named Niam Kells. I knew this from my husband's background check form. How dare you two defile this beautiful house in just 1 week? Didn't your mother say anything to you? She used to say that a dirty room is a dirty soul. I said sarcastically, "That's because my mom doesn't come here." Yeah, I guess that means she likes you, Niam, even though she used to pick on me so much. No, that's not it. Mom was just so happy to have Kendall at home that she didn't say anything. Oh, so you mean none of them were sad to see me go? I know, right. You have a child in your belly, Niam. So you're glad I'm gone rather than sad, right? How did you know about BU? Because in this day and age, you can find out anything you want to know. And yet, you're so brazen about giving your cheating partner getting home, huh? I mean, is it true that Kendall was after me before he dropped me in the river? You were going for it? How is that possible? What the hell are you talking about? My husband suddenly started laughing. Don't you think that's unnatural? I found these things in your room. What were you going to do? Bring pesticides into your room? And also, would you mind watching this video? The video was of my husband talking on his phone to someone. Oh, tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to sneak some pesticides in tomorrow's dinner. She won't know. I'll take care of it. We'll take care of it and then we'll be married. The video contains such a conversation. Where did that video come from? Turn it off now. Kendall took this video. You can erase it, but the real data is in his phone. My husband still did not seem to give up. I'll tell my mom to delete it from Kendall's phone too. Of course it's in the cloud nowadays, isn't it? Can you even understand that? I thought he was a foolish husband. After all, it seemed true that he was trying to commit the crime. It seemed certain that he was trying to make me pass away so that he could choose to live with his affair partner. However, this was before it became a crime. There is nothing we can do to bring him to justice, but my husband had committed another crime. Hey, honey, did you change my life insurance money without my permission? I think I had a $5 million life insurance policy. When I checked, it had been increased to $10 million. What does this mean? That's order. This kind of thing is a crime of forgery of private documents. Well, Niam helped you with most of it, didn't she? You two should get caught by the police. I'll get you to the police later. This time my husband kneeled down, with disappointment. Then, as I had declared, I went to the police. My husband and Niam were to be questioned by the police. This was finally the first step in my revenge against my husband. After this, we will have to discuss divorce, alimony, child support, and other payments, but I have no doubt that we will have the upper hand. And I finally went to go Kendall. It says ding dong. I ring the intercom at my parents-in-law's house. Daggeries was my mother-in-law to come out. He, the ghost of Selenia. I thought that parents and children react in the same way together. It's not a ghost or anything, Kendall. Master eyes mean, I called toward the back. Then Kendall came running out from inside. Then he hugged me. Mom, I missed you so much. I saw Kendall start to cry and I couldn't stop crying either. Only my mother-in-law was stunned, not knowing what was going on. After the emotional reunion, I wanted to take Kendall back to my parents' house. However, there was no way my mother-in-law would readily allow me to do so. Kendall is going to be our child. You should go away. Does that mean you are contesting custody of Kendall? Nicholas is in the care of the police, and you, his mother, think you can get custody of him? Of course I have custody of Kendall, right? What? Nicholas is in the police? Yes, because they had increased my life insurance money without my permission. That constitutes forgery of private documents. I don't think Nicholas did that. I'm sorry to hear that a criminal has come out of your family. I'm going to take Kendall with me. With these words, I left my parents-in-law's house, this time taking Kendall with me. Subsequent story. My husband and I are officially divorced. We agreed to increase the amount of alimony in exchange for not telling the police that he had tried to poison me with pesticides. Also, the fact that he had never taken any kind of side with me regarding my repeated bullying of his wife was also a factor in the increase in alimony. In the end, my husband paid $10 million in alimony. They agreed to pay Kendall child support of $50,000 per month until he turned 18. The whole company knew about her husband's affair and the fact that he already had a child. And so it should have been. Niam was a subordinate of the company. Both of them were relegated to a depopulated area for being unfaithful to each other. I heard that his income has also decreased dramatically. At this rate, will they be able to pay off the debt they incurred to pay my alimony, pay child support, and even provide for their own living expenses? Well, I don't care about my husband after the divorce. However, there was one thing that troubled me. My mother-in-law started hanging around my parents' house to see Kendall. A restraining order was filed against us for this, but we were still worried, so we decided to move out. We decided to move out because we did not want to cause any more trouble at my parents' house. It seems that my mother-in-law gave up when she found out that we and my parents were not at home, and she stopped hanging around my parents' house. As for us, on the other hand, I quit my job at the supermarket where I had worked for many years and got a full-time job. I found a job through my father's contacts, and it turned out to be a good environment. Kendall seemed to enjoy living with me. I think it was a weight off his shoulders now that his sarcastic stepmother was gone, and he no longer had to deal with the middleman. He doesn't mention his father at all, but I guess that's because he thought that the man who was trying to kill me couldn't even be considered his father anymore. From now on, the two of us, father and son, will help each other and do our best to live a fulfilling life. I believe that we can do it after overcoming so many ordeals.